Sure.
Thank you.
I ask unanimous consent.
Senator from Tennessee.
I ask unanimous consent to resume the legislative session.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier this month, we discovered one of the worst abuses of government power in our nation's history. The FBI, under President Biden, spied on 8 U.S. senators. I was one of those 8.
Wow. Just wow. What you just heard from Senator Marsha Blackburn is nothing short of stunning. And if what she's saying checks out, then we are witnessing one of the most dangerous abuses of power in modern American history. Think about that for a second. The FBI, under the Biden administration, allegedly spied on sitting members of Congress. That's not some tabloid headline. That's a sitting U.S. senator standing on the Senate floor saying it happened to her. And what's even more alarming, every single one of those senators was Republican, all of them vocal supporters of President Trump, and all of them had dared to question the 2020 election results. That's not national security woke. That's political targeting. Now, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. We should all be deeply disturbed by this. Because when government agencies start surveilling elected officials for their political beliefs, it's not just a party issue anymore. It's an American issue. So here's what I want you to do. Before we dive into the full video, hit that like button, subscribe if you believe in government accountability, and drop a comment below. Do you think this is bigger than Watergate like Senator Blackburn said? Let's get into this, because this story deserves way more attention than it's getting.
Sure.
Thank you.
I ask unanimous consent.
Senator from Tennessee.
I ask unanimous consent to resume the legislative session.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier this month, we discovered one of the worst abuses of government power in our nation's history. The FBI, under President Biden, spied on 8 U.S. senators. I was one of those 8. Now, what we have learned so far is this. The agency, the FBI, tracked whom we were calling on our cell phones, where we were physically located when we made or received the calls, and how long each call lasted. We still don't know the predicate for the subpoena, but they did go into a court and they got a subpoena. Now, by all appearances, the spying was politically motivated. The lawmakers who were spied on, all are Republicans. Each one of us support President Trump, and we had valid questions about the outcomes of the 2020 election. What we also know is that no American should be spied on by their government because of their political beliefs, whether they're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. This should not happen. Now, we're all duly elected members of Congress, and Jack Smith and the CR-15 unit at the FBI that did his dirty work for him violated our First and Fourth Amendment rights, the separation of powers, the speech and debate clause, and the Stored Communications Act. If they are willing to do this to us, just imagine what they are willing to do to private citizens who have a different political point of view. What were they doing to the moms and dads that went to school board meetings? What were they doing to pro-lifers? We already know that through the same probe, which was termed Arctic Frost, that the FBI investigated nearly 100 Republican and conservative groups, including the Republican National Committee, the Republican Attorneys General Association, and Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. We're hearing they may have surveilled as many as 150 different individuals. Now, we are learning that this weaponization of government was approved by those at the very top of Joe Biden's Justice Department. Late last week, Chairman Grassley, who chairs our Judiciary Committee, released an FBI memo drafted on April 4th, 2022, that authorized the Arctic Frost probe. Among the people whose signatures appear on that document are then Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco and the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland. And oh, by the way, the memo was written by FBI Director Christopher Wray. We're only learning about this abuse of power and this weaponization of the FBI because the Trump administration and Republicans are committed to complete transparency and accountability. They're committed to a single tier of justice, not two different tiers of justice. And thankfully, FBI Director Kash Patel has fired all the individuals that were involved in the spying operation. Now it's time to figure out how else they have weaponized our nation's justice system. So we will begin to have some hearings, and we are going to put these individuals under oath and ask them to explain how they allowed this to happen. And what we have heard so far is that Jack Smith, who was the ringleader of this, he wants assurances, his choice of words, that he won't be punished in exchange for testifying about his spying scheme before Congress. He is absolutely out of his mind if he thinks he's going to get off with this scot-free. This is a scandal bigger than Watergate. It is a scandal where the FBI and the DOJ have been weaponized, politicized, and no, he will not get off scot-free. The American people want to see that people are going to be held to account. So if we need to subpoena him, that's exactly what we will do. And we're also going to determine why exactly Verizon Wireless complied with the FBI's groundless subpoena request. Just last week, we learned that AT&T also received a subpoena request from Jack Smith for two other members of Congress' phone records. Yet, when AT&T questioned Smith's team about the legality of the subpoena, they apparently backed down and they abandoned the effort altogether. So it's very curious why Verizon just rolled over and went along with this lawless request and didn't move to question and didn't move to quash the subpoena. So we'll get to the bottom of that. It's important to realize Lady Justice is blindfolded. The American people want that one tier of justice, equal treatment under the law, equal access. And we're not going to stop fighting until we can ensure that the weaponization of government that occurred under Joe Biden does not ever happen again.
All right, that was powerful. Senator Marsha Blackburn just laid out something that, honestly, should shake every American, left, right, or center. The FBI, supposedly the nation's top law enforcement agency, allegedly went into court and got subpoenas to track who senators were calling, where they were located, and how long those calls lasted. That's chilling. And the fact that this operation, codenamed Arctic Frost, didn't just stop at lawmakers, but reportedly targeted over 100 Republican and conservative organizations, from the RNC to Turning Point USA, shows how deep this goes. Blackburn's point hits home. If they can do this to members of Congress, what makes you think they won't do it to you, a parent at a school board meeting, a conservative group leader, or just a citizen expressing your political beliefs online? This is exactly what she meant by the weaponization of government. Now here's a kicker. The authorization for the surveillance allegedly came from the very top: Attorney General Merrick Garland, Deputy AG Lisa Monaco, and FBI Director Christopher Wray. These aren't low-level bureaucrats. These are the decision-makers of our justice system. Blackburn called it straight. This isn't justice. It's politics dressed up as law enforcement. And she's right to demand hearings, subpoenas, and accountability. Because if these claims are true, this could indeed be bigger than Watergate. Watergate was about political espionage against the opposition. This is about the federal government spying on its own elected representatives. And then there's the question of Verizon and AT&T. According to Blackburn, AT&T resisted. They questioned the legality of the subpoenas and the FBI backed down. But Verizon? They rolled over, she said. That means private companies might be enabling political spying without even pushing back. That's something Congress needs to dig into, and fast. I've got to say, watching Marsha Blackburn stand up there, unwavering, calling this out by name, was refreshing. She didn't hedge, she didn't dance around it. She called out Jack Smith directly, the same special counsel behind Trump's prosecutions, and she said flat out, "You're not getting off scot-free." That's a kind of fire and accountability we need in Congress. Someone willing to look this massive federal machine in the eye and say, you don't get to spy on Americans because of their politics. Look, whether you like her politics or not, Senator Blackburn is defending something fundamental, the idea that no one is above the law, including those inside the FBI and DOJ. Lady Justice is supposed to be blindfolded, but in this case, it seems like she's peeking through it to see who voted for whom. And I agree with her. This fight isn't about partisanship. It's about preserving trust in the rule of law. Because once that's gone, democracy doesn't work anymore. So I'm standing with Senator Marsha Blackburn on this one. I think she's right to demand transparency, right to push for hearings, and right to say enough is enough. The American people deserve one tier of justice, not one for conservatives and another for everyone else. Guys, if you're watching this and you agree that power like this needs oversight, share this video. Let people know what's going on. Comment your thoughts down below. Should the Senate subpoena Jack Smith and the others? And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because we're going to keep watching this story and holding Washington accountable. Until next time, this is Civic Lens, and remember, seeing politics clearly means standing up for truth, no matter who it scares.